You are listening to the Hello Sport Podcast.
What's up, punters and dribblers? Welcome back to All Talk on a Thursday, mind you. All Talk is obviously a subsidiary podcast from the Hello Sport Podcast, of which myself and Edward are also the hosts. All Talk, though, is where we have notable guests on for a dribble and a yarn.
Not always notable.
That's a great point. Notable to us.
Yeah.
And sometimes they've been foisted upon us and they're not notable and we don't know them and we talk to them anyway because we had been in the past contractually obliged to do so. Not the case now. Now, punters and dribblers, if you head to hellosport.shop right now, you are going to be able to get the horizontal season shirt, the forest green that you do see my good friend Edward Simpson wearing if you are watching this on YouTube. If you're not, then you're just hearing us talk about it, but you know where it is. It's beautiful. It's the best shirt we've ever done. These things are breathable and flowy.
And livable.
And livable.
And breathable.
You wear them to the beach. You dress them up with a pant if you're going out to try and chase birds
Or a
dudes,
short.
or a short,
Or a board short.
Well, that would be when you go to
Or
the
a
beach.
dickie.
Or a dickie. That's
Or
a good
take
point.
or wear or no pants.
Or if you're a hot misso and you want to be a bit sultry around the house, just wear the shirt.
Just wear the shirt, nothing else.
It covers, or I mean, obviously, I'm just saying misso because that is my sexual proclivity. You could be a man just wearing it around the house. Your dong's going to be flopping down the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's obviously that's a preference thing.
The choice is yours.
Yeah.
The choice is yours. Hellosport.shop, horizontal season shirts. We're getting through them. Some sizes are gone. I don't want to be alarmist,
No.
but it's true.
Also, this might be a good reminder as well. The amount of DMs we get from missos being like, oh my God, can you please let me know when it's on? Obviously, I can't go through them all and go back and let all of your missos know that the shirts are for sale. So if you're hoping they remember or you listen to the show all the time around them, they're trying to get you this fucking shirt. So just let them know it's on sale. Maybe just flick them a little Instagram post. Hey, Darl.
Just send them a link.
Horizontal season shirts are on sale. Might be good for Christmas. Thank you.
Thanks.
Usually we do the All Talks on a Sunday, but given that Test cricket is upon us and the next Test starts Saturday, we felt it only necessary and right that we drop this today. Obviously, all Talks are brought to you by Good Day, the number one multivitamin on planet Earth. Head to begoodhealth.com.au. Use the code DRIBBLERS for 10% off, or if you get a subscription, you get 20% off. Take your health seriously, punters and dribblers. Time to do it. Dave Warner.
Yeah.
Heard of him?
Heard of him?
Yeah, of course you have.
Heard of him? Like his vibe, bro. Just like what he's about, like his tempo, like his cadence, like his delivery.
Well, listen, it's the second.
Like his confidence.
It's the second time we've had him on, Ed, and to say that we are in the midst of a blossoming friendship would be an understatement. We obviously get on very well.
Well, we've been invited to his house twice.
Yeah, we obviously have never officially been invited, but he's said to us twice, "Come to the man cave."
Better than nothing.
It's better than not being invited at all.
Correct.
You would argue. Now, Dave has just recently been announced as the captain of the Thunder, so we're going to be seeing him playing Big Bash all summer long, as opposed to, Eddie, what usually happens with the big dogs, like you'll see with our current Test players, they may fucking dick about with a final few games. You may not see him at all. We get Dave all summer long.
We get unadulterated Dave Warner Big Bash version.
Correct. Captain Dave.
Captain Dave.
Unadulterated Dave, Captain Dave, all summer long. Now, December 21st at NG Stadium, the Super Smash Thunder v the Sixers.
Heard of him?
Heard of them? If you...
Pink on green.
Yeah, pink on green crime, or green on pink crime. Use the code HelloSport at checkout for 10% off tickets to that game. Super Smash, Crosstown Rivalry. It's that time of year. It's horizontal season. It's Saturday. That is the summer solstice, longest day of the year. Literally. So you get out there and you enjoy yourself, punters and drillers, on your mates Tom and Eddie. 10% off tickets using the code HelloSport. David Warner, punters and dribblers, enjoy him.
6 o'clock. It's ridiculous.
6 o'clock. See, my kids will get up at 6 o'clock though. Yours are a bit older probably. Mine's 3 and 5. I don't know. They seem to find a way to get up.
I got 3, 10, 8 and 5.
Yeah, you got 3 of them. Hey, 3 girls.
So
I'm about to have my third daughter.
If one
as well.
pings, the other one pings.
Oh,
and then the older one just, no, I'm lame.
You do an Elf on the Shelf?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I've got to set an alarm every night. I'm like, dude, if I don't do this, my children are going to be devastated.
We got to ask the question, do we do it? Candace said no. And I said, I hate the thing and I'm going to throw it in the bin. Actually, funny story. My mate hung his from the fan. And said the elf's done.
The elf's dead.
Oh, it was good.
Oh, the
It was
elf passed
classic.
away. My
It was
wife
classic.
did it. The elf was in bed with 3 Barbies. I was like, that was an interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the girls woke up and it was in the baby's cot.
Erotic stuff.
Yeah, it was a bit. I mean, listen, I thought it was a bit much, but they thought they were just all cuddling.
Is it new, Elf on the Shelf?
We never did it. Did you do Elf on the Shelf growing up?
I didn't. Nah. I hardly remember back then.
What, just your childhood generally?
No, just in general, yeah. It went so fast, and
Yeah, I know.
you know when you didn't have iPads and all that kind of stuff, you know, nothing was really interesting.
I
These
know.
days, they've already got everything. So why do we have Christmas anymore?
That's true.
Christmas is every day.
I know, dude. It's a bit like that, isn't it? They're always getting something. Mother-in-law's bringing over shit every single day. It's like you need another day dedicated just to give them toys.
Mate, the thing I'm trying to find out is what's actually funny with the Elf on the Shelf now. I saw one the other day. Actually, a guy was he had like the elf just legs apart and he was pouring a drink.
Yeah, there's some good ones. My wife, I think, started Googling them for like inspiration and shit because I've just run out of ideas. I'm like, hang it off that, hang it off this. It's sitting
Generic.
You're running it. It was building Lego this morning. Anyway, mate, listen, we weren't here for Elf on the Shelf chat. I can assure you of that, David. How are you enjoying retirement from main like the top flight cricket at the moment and getting into the commentary side of things?
Yeah, it's been good. What I've actually enjoyed about it, so the game's actually quite easy from up there.
Yeah.
When you slow everything down and people nick it or their feet aren't moving, you just say, mate, how hard is it to move your feet? Can't be that hard. Pick up line and length. It's a simple game. It's just if you use your eyes and track the ball, you'll be fine. So, but it's
Yeah, just hit it.
yeah, it's we overcomplicate a simple game, but it's been good. I've really enjoyed working with the legends of the game and see how they see things different to what I see coming out of the change room. We work well together, but it's just finding like that balance between timing when you're in the commentary box and how you deliver certain things, and you're in awe sometimes of what they do, because when you're live, there's certain things you can and can't do. Swear for one.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to talk over top of someone that's doing the lead. So it's you're trying to find that balance, and it's like I'm literally going in to do my apprenticeship again.
Have you taken advice on that, or have you just picked it up on the go?
No, I've done a little bit with the Big Bash.
Yep.
Just going into sort of one day cricket and then the test match side of it. Trying to get your tones on test cricket's got to be sort of that low tone, and then how you describe things, and then it's up and about.
Yeah.
With 2020 cricket. So yeah, it's fascinating. You learn. You literally get a mic and there you go. Go
away.
Do your best.
Off for it. And have you ruffled feathers being the best dressed in the commentary box this early into your sort of full-time commentary career?
There's been a lot of questions around, who's dressing me. What is it? The Batuta Advocate, I think, the other day said the blind's leading the blind, which is probably a fair point. But Peter Jackson, they do a good suit. But look, I went in there. Paris, our stylist, she said to me, conservative. And then I stopped at that and I said, no.
Nah.
Whatever you want me in, let's make a statement. And I might need that brown hat for my brown suit too.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can go.
Well, mate, maybe this one.
Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah. Maybe our own stuff.
Yeah.
But it's been a good talking point. It has.
I mean, like the Batuta boys are very funny, but your suits are noticeably better and nicer than, and I mean, I'm assuming not everyone is dressed in the same thing. I don't know, like sometimes when we've done things with Fox in the past, and we're not in suits obviously, but like it seems like they've got a wardrobe of like, what size are you? Sweet, like just whack something on.
Yeah.
Whereas yours all seem quite like, oh no, Dave's come to play.
No, I have. And I've got them fitted too. So
Oh, you can tell.
Yeah, I've got no leeway when I'm retired. So I've got to stay nice and tight in that thing. Actually, I actually didn't even know what a double breast suit was until I wore it. And then the boys picked like.
And that's like where the button goes on the inside? Yeah.
And then you literally
Folds over the top.
And you can't unbutton it. Like you have to keep it buttoned up the whole day. Like
Yes.
in terms of like when you're doing things.
Well, it'll look weird if it's unbuttoned because it'll hang out.
Yeah, it all sort of
It'll be a
flops
bit-
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I think you're making a great statement, mate, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of the time, some of the boys aren't that well dressed.
No.
Yeah.
You can have a bit of pride in your appearance, I think.
And we don't want to sort of throw stones, but you're just noticeably better dressed than all of them.
I think just because it stands out.
Yeah.
But see, I'm trying to fit into that age demographic by looking older in those suits.
Yes.
So,
But what you're looking older by but you're also looking like you're appealing to the younger person who sees the old person in the suit and is like, what are we doing here?
Is there any tips you can give us in terms of colouring?
colour
matching?
sort of like.
Because I've liked the colouring of the suits as well.
Yes.
There've been some like tonal vibes.
Yeah, and you know my girls love preppy colours, so they've been telling me to go into something a little bit different. But I want to pull out a beige double breast soon.
Ooh,
Like that.
Yeah.
I want that. I saw it actually the other day on the website because you know you get, I think it's 3 or 4 suits you get, so they rotate. And luckily I'm only doing this test and not the next 2 after, because I think they would, expire. I think
Yes.
they're overused.
Yeah.
But it's just all they do is just they match the shirt underneath. So I think I got referred to as an 80s car salesman the last test match. And it was all purely because of the shirt underneath. So I respect that.
Oh, that's good. When you're there were some comments the other day, it might have been yesterday on the back page of the paper, around your thoughts on Marnus' performance in that last test. I'm interested to know how you go, or how the transition's been from being a teammate of someone going into the media where like you have to have an opinion, otherwise like what are you doing there? Have you found it difficult having to like speak honestly, and in using Marnus' situation particularly? Like, was that difficult? Do you have to call him and let him know, or was it even made to seem harsher on the back page than the way you intended it?
Yeah, look, I think if you are in the game, when it's cricket, or if you're in the media, you know the headlines are going to reflect a different meaning to what the actual article is. And what I said isn't true. Everything was pretty much true. So, like, the statements of what I said, my comments were, but, you need some clicks. So I'm guessing they're editors, whoever do the headlines, they're the ones who put it out there. But in saying that, unfortunately, Marnus is the talking point at the moment. So given that he hasn't been scoring as many runs as he'd like, there is few things that creep into the game where it's dismissals, points of the game and context of the game. So Uzi and Nathan McSweeney really batted really well to sort of negate that pink ball. Then Marnus came in and the Indians were off their lengths. So he wasn't looking to score. He left balls that were pretty easy to leave, and then comes out the next day, the sun's shining. So that's the perfect time to bat. So that is what the opener's jobs are to do, right? So, but then him getting in, then Heady coming out and playing the way Heady does, I think if you're still getting out the way that you're getting out, there's still room for improvement. Yeah. So for him, he's got to have that intent, not just to look to leave all the time. I said early before the series, when he's looking to leave and he's got a solid defence, that's when he's pretty much at his best. So I felt like the last couple of test matches, he just looked to leave, that's it, and not score. So that was why my comments were as they were. Yeah. And we hope that he comes out and scores big hundreds, because Australia needs that. We don't want someone like Marnus Labuschagne, who is averaging 50, to go back to Shield cricket and not play for Australia, because who's the next couple of guys that are coming through? So that's what you've always got to think about, is you put pressure on someone because you have to, because it's your opinion and you're commenting, but it's who's going to replace that player. Yeah. We know Sam Constance is a good player, teammate of mine at the Thunder. Is he ready? Well, he's showing signs that he's ready, but maybe when Uzi decides to hang him up and he can join Nathan McSweeney. But then you got 2 fresh guys open the batting.
Yes.
Right. So we've all got to start somewhere, and that could be the sort of the next decade of breeding these younger guys at that age.
And I want to get to that in a second, but just to quickly go back to the having to be critical of former teammates thing. Was that at all? Have you found that at all difficult, or has it been just like, this is the next thing I'm doing now, and you're just sort of able to go with it?
I think the guys in that change room know that I'm critical anyway. Doesn't matter if I'm if I'm commentating. So it's finding that balance now with the newer guys that will come in, and trying to build a relationship and build rapport with those guys first, because I think it's important that I've done it through my career. You got to get to know journalists. You got to get to know commentators, because they are going to be around all the time. Yep. And if they're going to make comment, always feel free to speak freely to that person to say, hey, what are you thinking, and why was the comment, why was it warranted? And then you can go back and ask yourself, okay, well, he was probably on point there. So now how do I deal with that next time? Or, if I'm playing a certain way, have those conversations, have a general chit chat with these people to say, this is how I play, this is how I'm going to go about my business. And then you're accountable for something. So it's not just something that's going to be spontaneous. And I feel like that was probably after 5 years or after that Crash Craddock and Malcolm Conn incident when I threw a few barbs out there. So that was probably where I sort of said to myself, look, get to know these people because you're going to be around, you're going to see them all the time. And, if you're going to throw barbs out like it did, you're going to cop a lot of criticism. So I had to find that sort of balance.
On Marnus, how difficult would it be to be playing the cricket he was playing, to be the number one batsman in the world, and then just seemingly over the last, 18 months, 2 years, fall off a cliff, really? Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he'd just be, quote unquote, training the house down. But, like, how do you get over that mental hurdle when you fall into form like that?
Yeah, and I saw his comments the other day. Yeah, he went back and hit balls and, I call it cricket ball sandwiches. That's the way that he trains. So that works for him. Doesn't mean he's working any harder than a Travis Head, or an Usman Khawaja. He wants to hit cricket balls. That's how he thinks he's getting better. Other people take time away from the game. So don't be fooled about the fact that because he's in the nets and training harder, he's working harder than anyone else because that's what he needs to get his mind in that mind frame. But for him, it's about listening. Now, when you're in this form slump and you're not scoring as many runs as you are, you have to listen. Take 1 point out of 10 that someone gives you, but you have to be willing to get better by taking on other people's sort of comments. So, I saw his batting coach come out the other day, Neil DaCosta. I haven't heard from him since Marnus started cricket. So, a comment like that when you got Michael Divenuto, who's the batting coach for Australia, well, is he going to listen to the guy that's with him 24/7, or his batting coach is that? I don't know how long Neil DaCosta worked with him, but he came out and talking about leaving an 8-metre length at Optus Oval. Well, Neil, you haven't played at the Optus Oval. It's the second innings of a Test match. It's cracking, and it's Bumrah bowling. So there's going to be a lot of variables. So you got to take some comments on board, and I think with Marnus, he's starting to learn that early doors because it was all going well. He scored some amazing hundreds, won some amazing games for us. But you've got to be prepared to listen when you're not going as well because they're just little things.
It's interesting. Is part of that as well, like in terms of he had the meteoric rise and then now he's sort of come back to the field. Is that about bowlers around the world just working you out? Is it like they just work you out and then you're like, shit, now I have to like evolve again?
They do, and it's about your slips caught and taking catches. So, he's been given a lot of opportunities, but at the end of the day, you need luck.
Yeah.
And, after he's been dropped, he's made the most of that luck, which is what you need as a cricket player. So he scored the runs. We know he's capable of doing that. But now that the bowlers, if they're bowling over 140, they're angling in, they know that his bat angle comes down and they're half a chance of getting that edge. So it's little things like that, as a batsman, you should be taking on board, the constructive criticism. You should know as a player, and I know towards the back end, I was getting out a certain way, but I was trying to, in my mind, tell myself, just go harder at the ball. Yeah. And that's not necessarily the case. You can't just do that because you have to actually pick the right ball to hit. So, when bowlers start working you out, you got to start going, all right, what am I going to do here? Do I walk at the bowler? Like Brody, same thing in England. I started walking at him. I thought in 2019, just to defend. Well, might as well just kick them over, which I did anyway. But that's what you have to work on. You have to actually try to find a method to go, all right, how am I going to score here from that angle? So, the last 2 innings, he's taken 20 balls to get off the mark. That's not Marnus. That's someone who's not looking to score. He'll try and probably walk in the line and try and get one on the leg side. So, from his standpoint, I'm sure he'll be working on something. He'll be looking at why he's getting out, how he's getting out. And then from there, I think he'll pile on the runs the next couple of Test matches.
Yeah. So you reckon do you think there's been some sort of a turn with him, at least from this last Test?
Well, he's looking to score.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been,
We've got the bloody fly in here, mate.
I think that's Marnus just saying, get away from get off the topic.
Get off the topic.
But I think, I think what was in his favour the other day is the way it happened. And that's what happens as a cricket player. Like, you could be stuck up the other end facing one guy for, 15, 20 minutes every test match, and he can get you out. So from his point, the other day was great for him. And if he can work out a way to try and absorb that and get a couple of freebies on his pads, he can be away. And he was away the other day. It's just he played that lazy shot he always does when he gets past 50. And we always kick ourselves in the change room. And it's not by choice that I saw that or I've learned that. I've seen it. I've been in the change room. And that's what we always talk about, Marnus. When you get to 50, don't play that dab. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
Either hit it or just let it go.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm hoping he scores some runs.
Punters and dribblers, we are in the silly season, and the silly season is hot, sweaty, humid work. And really, honestly, there's only one way to quench your thirst, and that's with an ice cold Japanese lager from our good friends at 4 Pints.
It's the only thing that's going to quench it properly. You can fuck around with other things, but it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, dude. The only thing that works at this point is turning Japanese. And you and I have turned fully Japanese.
Oh, mate, we turned Japanese the other day.
We did. We turned...
Couple of times.
Oh, all the way Japanese. Hakameja was just... Everyone there was Japanese.
Everyone had turned Japanese.
Yeah.
Fucking terrific. Thursday we turned Japanese.
We turned Japanese. People are turning Japanese. And as I said, silly season, hot, humid, sweaty work. Make smart decisions. Get down to your local, your bottle.
Get down to your local.
Get yourself a case. Get yourself a 60.
Get yourself a case,
Turn
mate.
Japanese this silly season. And how have you found the first 2 tests? Obviously, there was a lot after the first one. There was a lot. Eddie and I basically felt like the sky was falling down and that, test cricket may be dead in this nation. And then obviously we won the second test, and now I'm not sure we'll ever lose another match. How did you see it from your perspective? Were you surprised at how bad we were in the first one, as opposed to were you surprised that we were able to turn it around as quickly as we did?
Look, there was a lot of criticism. The fact was it was chaos day one. It was 17 wickets day one. And when you're behind the 8 ball on that part, day 2 and 3 the wicket's going to get better. And I don't think anyone knew that the wicket was going to get that slow on day 2. So when Starkey and I think it was Hoff were batting at that stage, they faced another 30 balls. So it just showed and proved to everyone else that exactly is the best time to bat. So it was hard from the Australians' point of view. But then when they came out and bowled, they attacked. But then India just counteracted by just, bludgeoning it. So they were good. You can't take the credit away from the way that the Indians batted. So, if you win the toss, you bowl Australia out you bowl India out for what we did, and then you go out and bowl sort of them out. It's hard. It's one of those things where it could have happened in Adelaide, which it normally does, especially that nighttime period. But I think that test match was just literally, it can be on the other side very easily.
Yeah.
But look, I don't think you'll see that again. I'll refrain from saying that because I think in Brisbane, there's rain leading in, so it's going to be, I don't know how they're preparing the wicket, but if they put too much juice in it and the wicket's covered, it could be nasty.
Yeah.
It could be 15, 16 wickets day one, or if they go the other way and they've started to roll it now leading in and it's hot, there could be some cracks, which I love. I love it at the Gabba.
You love it?
I love the cracks. The cracks are so good because...
Cracks are good?
Yeah, they're good. And you saw that in Perth. Cross cracks, no, because it can be dangerous. But those ones straight down, you earn the right to bat into day 3 and 4 and be out in the field when those things are happening. Because they don't take wickets. Mentally, it puts it in the back of your mind as a batsman going, gee, those cracks are going to do something here. And then your feet start going into different places. So I want to see those. I want to see the cracks.
Yeah, it is
Love
fun.
that. Now, the start of the summer was pretty chaotic in terms of who the fuck's going to open. We were all a little bit lost, I think. And you put your hand up and said, listen, I'm here if you need me. I'm happy to play a role for the country once more. How fair income were you when you made those comments?
Oh, look, if any time the phone rings, you're going to pick it up. And if someone says, do you want to play for Australia again? You're not going to say no.
No.
But at that time, it was I think if the guys had played 5 or 6 tests before that or a couple of Shield games, I wouldn't be putting my hand up. But they'd played one series against New Zealand and the boys had one hit out. So, I was prepared to come back. But look, at the end of the day, you move forward, and I retired for a reason.
Yeah.
So, but it was good. It was good. Good in terms of like the guys sort of batting it out.
Yeah.
It was good to see
Yes.
because it shows you how hard it is when there's pressure on. Like leading in, there's a couple of Shield games. Yeah, you can score runs, but then it comes to the crunch where, mate, it's not the be all end all, but you've got to score runs today.
Yeah.
So the rest of the public, they're all watching now because
Yeah.
the limelight's on you, and you don't. It's like, well,
Are you
okay,
ready? Yeah.
we knew he wasn't ready. That's what the public see.
Yes.
But obviously selectors and all that know what they're looking for. So
No. So it's interesting though, right? Like, I mean, obviously, was there a part of you when you say that, like, yeah, I'll put my hand up, where you're like, fuck, do I really want to be getting back into this? Because, like, there's obviously a chance. Or are you pretty confident that, like, you're putting your hand up, but that, like, they're probably not going to.
you know they're not going to. They're not.
There's no way they're going to get you back.
No, they're not. And
So
they,
is
and
part
they
of that
don't-
then
and they
you're just
don't
being
wanna-
a smart ass? Like, you're sort of just trying to.
and they don't want to give me the satisfaction saying, yeah, we want him back.
Yeah. Could you imagine
well,
if the phone did ring that?
I know the change room well.
Yeah.
I know the coaches. I know them. It's all good.
Yeah.
But I copped some criticism though from Greg Blewett because he was looking for a new job, so he wanted to get some headlines. So
Yeah, right.
Didn't work, Bluey, unfortunately.
Devo for Bluey. That's tough.
Were you surprised they went with someone who hadn't opened before?
No. I wasn't because opening the batting is a hard task in itself, right? So I think as a traditional opener, I think I saw a lot of Ed Cowan's comments. I agree with what he is saying to a certain point, but I think you look at myself, you look at Steve Smith, Usman Khawaja, who else there's been plenty of openers before who haven't been just genuine openers, and you sort of mould your way into that position. I think today it's hard becoming an opener and then holding that until the top level. It's I think the game's changing as well, where I think they want people who play strokes
Yes.
as well. So people have got the capability to keep going, and I think, and this is no disrespect to openers in the past, they feel like openers are just there to see the shine off.
Yeah.
And then once they get through it, they're not changing gears. They're just staying the same. So I think the game's changed in that way. And it's not why people aren't getting picked or not. Like, there's going to be guys that do get picked on that basis. But I think Nathan McSweeney's got that game where and we've seen it the other day. We saw, the poor fella has had the 4 hardest jobs.
Yeah.
Like that any opener can imagine. Like that's exactly what you don't want as an opener. He's had 4 of them.
Yeah.
He's had almost every single one of them.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want. So the poor fella's had a rough start, but we saw glimpses the other day of why he's been picked.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me. So, to answer that, no, I think, coming through, if you sort of bat 4 or 5, you can actually open. And, Travis Head, I think it's been shown when I got injured in India, he will probably be that subcontinental opener.
Yeah, right.
So, and you've got to remember, Cameron Green's got to come into that lineup. So Mitch Marsh came in for Cameron Green in the Ashes when he was injured. Mitch Marsh has cemented his spot because he has been in great form, and Cameron Green has to play.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting. I don't think he'll be fit enough to play Sri Lanka, but after Sri Lanka, it'll be interesting to see what they go with.
For sure. Just back to the openers as well quickly. Do you think you sort of, there's like a, what's the word? It's almost like a culture shift in terms of like the older generation of cricketers who are used to that more dour opening technique, whereas everyone younger seems to be coming up. It's like they're playing 2020. They're playing like they're stroke makers. So it's kind of, there's no one really around to fit that mold.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing at the moment in Australian cricket is, well, wickets have gone the other way. It's so flat, and then Test matches have been so conducive. The last 18 months has been hard for Australian batting, and that's on the back of, before that was Cricket Australia wanting games to go 5 days.
Yeah.
To maximise revenue, and that was the old regime. They were the guys that were, all right, we give good batting wickets. We know our bowling stocks will bowl any opposition team that come out. And I go back to probably when India won that series, 2018, those wickets started to be conducive. And then it was like literally, all right, tough work. When the wickets are hard and they're conducive, the grass is at 10 to 12 mil. I always say the best bowlers in the world will get the best batters out, hands down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's why you haven't seen so many hundreds in Australia the last couple of years. Is purely because the wickets have been challenging.
Yeah, right. Back to now, you're talking Cam Green there. Who makes way for him at the moment? Obviously, like Khawaja's been out of form. Smith's out of it was Khawaja, Marnus, Smith that sort of people were talking about. Marnus seems to have turned around a little bit. Where is that at? Like if Cam Green was available now, are we dropping Steve Smith?
Well,
seems like a crazy thing to say.
Someone
right?
like Steve, yeah, you can't. As I said, you got to find someone who's better than Steve Smith. If I'm in opposition and they go, all right, Steve Smith's out, this new guy's in, he's played no tests, you're cheering. So, unfortunately, what happens, the oldest bloke gets, questioned.
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate. That's what happens. And the selectors say age doesn't matter. Well, you can say that because you're not allowed to publicly.
Yeah.
So that's wise words or good choice of words. So, but I think you look at someone like Sam Constance, for example. He is there for that opportunity. Now, who's going to open in Australia? If, say, for instance, if Uzi decides to retire this year or next year, who takes that opening position? And then if Cameron Green has to come in, the pressure then can go on to Steve Smith and Marnus still. But then you've also got Mitch Marsh's in the middle as well. So you've got areas there where everyone needs to score. In a perfect world, and I would like this to happen, is that they all keep scoring runs. They all get, to leave when they want to leave. Mitch Marsh is still young, but all three forms, it's a challenge for him. We've seen, in reports in the that he might not be able to back up here and there.
Yep.
So there's a lot of elements there, but Cameron Green has to come back into the lineup. Who he comes in for, the unfortunate thing is, runs the best form of currency, so you're just going to have to keep scoring runs. And it could be that battle of who doesn't score runs is out.
Yeah.
But so, with the Ashes next year, and, I think the average age of the English side currently is they're under 27. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but that's just it's something that you hear getting touted or thrown around. I think ours is 34, something like that. But so when you've got someone like a 38-year-old Khawaja, 35-ish-year-old Smith,
35, 36.
35, 36, I'm not sure, Marsh probably similar sort of areas. If we're looking to next year and we've got players that are out of form, when would you look to start trying to usher in some new players? Would it be at the end of this year, this summer?
Would it be after the Ashes?
Or you mean the Sri Lanka? Or would it be even after then? You just sort of wait and try and get them all?
I think everything this year will be gearing up to get to next year. And I think the selectors and that will be hoping that these players and this group of the squad, I use a squad as a broad term, sort of the 15 to 17 players they've got there at the moment, go into next year.
Yep.
And, next year there could be an element of a couple of fast bowlers retiring. Nathan Lyon's getting to that age now as well. You've got to start thinking the following year after that. So, that's the challenge as well for this group. If there's 5 or 6 players, you could be potentially losing over 1,000 wickets.
Yeah.
Next year, if they decide to not keep going. So, and then you take out Steve Smith's 10,000 runs, Uzi's, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 runs. There's a lot going to be missing.
Yeah.
And then it's that rebuilding phase.
But I guess would the priority be in Australian cricket's eyes, win the Ashes at all costs, and then if we just have to rebuild, having lost Khawaja, Smith, Marsh, maybe Stark and Lyon, then so be it?
Under the old administration, it would have been win at all costs.
Yep.
But now it's about getting there, managing it, and winning as many games as you can, and obviously winning the series.
Yeah.
So who do they manage? How do they manage them? Josh Hazlewood gets injured, and look at Scotty Boland, just comes in and bang, wickets.
Yeah.
So we got the crops there. It's after, so you got after Scott Boland. You've got Michael Neser, who unfortunately was injured. You've got Sean Abbott, very good player. So we got the stocks there. It's now managing them and getting them into. So Bolo's had that taste. Jai Richardson's had the taste, but he unfortunately had some injuries. So there is guys who have had that taste from a fast bowling perspective. Yep. But now it's about, the batters. Who are the batters that are come in? Who's going to take it to England if they come out and play their Baz ball theory? And, will that work in Australia with big boundaries? They're a confident team at the moment. They're very confident, but then will their bowlers stand up? So in Australia, I think their bowling, they're going to have to try and work a little bit on their bowling because you won't get as much swing as they normally produce. They bowled well in New Zealand. They did very, very well, and they went that bouncer theory as well. So, I think it's going to be an exciting series. I'm actually pumped for it because I think it's probably they're young, so they play freely, right? So it's an exciting brand of cricket from both teams, I reckon, going into next year.
I think it was on the Great Cricketer I was listening to this. They were interviewing an English fella who must have been covering England versus New Zealand, where they brought in like a fucking child, essentially. I can't remember his name, but he's like, I don't know if he's 17 or maybe like he's a bit older, but he's like, he's young. No first-class centuries. Bethel, that's it, Bethel. And I guess part of the way that they operate is just like somewhat... they're not necessarily looking at the conventional data that you would to determine someone's readiness to be a Test cricketer. Have you followed that generally, like that story generally, and like what your thoughts are on that approach? Because he's coming in made back-to-back 50s, I think.
I've not followed the process or the story.
Yeah.
What I am looking at is that they're trying to change their tradition, which is un-English-like.
Yes.
Right? They're traditionalists. Now, are there traditionalists following that and liking it? Yeah, it's a great brand of cricket, but you got to think of your fans and supporters. Now, as we saw at Lords, that goes out the window sometimes, right? So,
Jesus.
I'd love to see what the chit chat is at home. Is it exciting? Because you're only 2 or 3 tests away from playing cowboyish before they turn on you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you can come out as much as you want when you lose and just pretend it didn't happen. Well, we're we got the moral victories, and we're trying to change the game and make it exciting. When you're not winning and your sponsors fall off, then you have to go back to playing normal Test cricket. So
yeah, it is funny that, isn't it? Like peripherally observing English cricket, but like things go well, Bazball's the best, and then things aren't going well, Bazball's a fucking nightmare. But then it's like, oh no, it's going good again, and it's just like it seems like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Stock market.
Yeah. Did part of just to quickly touch on that, Lords? Was part of you loving that?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah,
loved it.
In the long room or whatever it's called, all these old pompous members, toffs who pretend to be a certain way and then just reveal their true colours.
They're all self-righteous. Why do they get the privilege to, hug our shoulders when we walk out to bat or field?
Yeah,
and then they carry on like absolute hooligans. Like. You talk about spirit of the game. What about spirit of the fans?
Yeah.
Oh, there was absolute none there. They all should have got washed out of there and never be able to be sitting in that position again.
Yeah. And
it's a disgrace.
It was a disgrace.
If that was anywhere else in the world,
yeah,
right, that'll be taken away.
Oh, yeah.
100% taken away.
100%.
So, oh, well.
Stay in your crease, bruh.
Exactly.
Now, Jasprit Bumrah, everyone's just touching themselves essentially over his spells, particularly in Perth. Like, is that some of the best bowling you've seen from a visiting side?
Yeah, and I got asked this question the other day about how would you approach playing against him. And I've played a lot of white ball cricket against him, and still, it was. I go back to facing Malinga. When a guy is that accurate and that good, you can't look to score. In terms of you can't look to take him on. You got to try and work out how can I get off strike. And
get me out of here.
And luckily, I'm not a right-handed batsman because that looks tough work.
Yeah.
From a left-hander, okay, if I hold my blind, I might nip away. It's not going to nip back in. So around the wicket, he's creating a few nightmares as well because he goes beyond the perpendicular and he can bring the ball, back in when he wants, but it's always going to predominantly go away. So he's always hitting the stumps. How do you get him off from hitting the stumps? Well, you got to be brave. I've not seen any of the Australian cricket players walk at him, right? You just got to be brave. Walk at him. If you're going to look to survive, you're always going to, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get knocked over. So put a bit of pressure on him.
Yep.
Do something different. Yeah, he might sniff you. He might hit you. Might bowl you a slow ball, but you're putting him off his line and length. And you can do that from ball one. If you're an opener, I know it might not be your way of thinking, but if your thinking is, all right, that little area there, I'm going to look to leave, I'm going to look to play it, and then he just never missed that position and he's got you out a couple of times, well, guess what? He's going to get you out again.
Yes.
So do something. Walk at him. Like, I use Marnus and Smithy as a reference. Smudge isn't moving across now. So Bumrah's already in his head, right? So I thought it was just going to be second innings, which he moved. He didn't move across because of the first innings dismissal. Now in Adelaide, he didn't move across. Now, I'm not an expert on technique, but Smithy's head fell over again, right? So if your prelim's gone out, you got to think, what's going to be a disadvantage to me if I stop that? Well, there was a slight movement in his head. I did watch a fair bit of footage after that to try and back up comments. So Smudge does fall naturally a little bit even when his foot goes across. But when it's something that you don't do often, because in one-day cricket it doesn't move a lot across, but it's to negate that sort of outside edge.
Yep.
Now he's bringing in LBW, bowled, and the edge. And that's not normal Steve Smith. So when he's at his best, he's hitting everything off his pads.
Yes.
So they're the guys that I worry about because this guy's so accurate. And if we as openers, if you do your job well, you protect those guys, right? But if they get out, it's hard to protect. So the openers have a big job, and it's not adding pressure and it's a team game. But the more the openers can obviously absorb, the better it's going to be for Smudge and Marnus.
Yeah.
And that's where, Marnus opening, if Marnus and Smudge were your rocks, Marnus moving up to open in that discussion was probably not going to be great in that sense. And now we look back and go, it definitely wasn't going to be great.
Yeah.
Only based on his current form and facing Bumrah.
Yes.
Gee whiz.
That would be a nightmare.
People always when Smudge would whip it off his pad so often and play down the leg side as often as he did throughout his career, people always are worried that at some point he'd lose his eyes.
Or is it like that? There was his asset was like that. His eyes.
His elite hand eye was his real asset. Are we seeing that deteriorate, or is that just fluff, or is that just like
Head
a
noise.
cheap media line, or is it head noise? Where do you think he's at?
Can't talk on behalf of his eyes.
Yeah. Well, that'd be surprising.
But I guess.
But have you spoken to his eyes?
I've looked into his eyes. I guess as you get older, your reaction time probably does get a little bit slower, but I think it's how you try and counter that by, moving around or finding different ways to approach it. Like for me, I started going back and across, but to get into positions to hit different deliveries. Now that, I think he's averaging 22 off his pads now, which he was averaging probably 80, in the heights of his career. But because I think the guys now are bowling specifically in at his pads and on the leg side, they know that they're shutting the scoring down. So I don't reckon it's his eyes. I reckon they're bowling well to him where they go, we just shut one side off. We can zero in his pads. Hopefully he misses one. Unfortunately, he has been. Then he gets burgled down leg side.
Yeah.
But India exploited that at the MCG when Ravi Shashi was coach. They put a leg slip in and they got him out there. So then everyone else started going, all right, well, let's just start bouncing him and put fielders out on the leg side. It slows him down. He doesn't score freely. So it doesn't build momentum for the Australian cricket team.
Yeah.
So I think it's just been a ploy.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it's just his runs have been dried up and then, he's probably faced 40 or 50 balls, but then he gets out and he's only scored 20. And that's a tick for the opposition, So I think shutting Steve Smith's scoring options down are working for the opposition. And I don't think they'll change from that. So I don't necessarily think it's his eyes. I just think it's literally they're just attacking straight at his pads just to slow the scoring. And unfortunately, fortunate for them, he's missing some.
Interesting.
Wobble seam was something that Crash Craddock. The first time I'd really sort of properly been aware of it or acknowledging it was when Crash Craddock wrote something about it. I think after the first test, essentially just where you don't know which way the ball's going to go. It can nip in or it can nip away. But he was sort of, I guess, writing about it that it has just become way more prominent of a tool that bowlers use.
Yep.
Is it as difficult as it was sort of being made out to be? Is it like a major new thing?
It's not a new thing.
Not a new thing, but have you
more prolific.
Noticed, that it's become more prolific and so, I guess tilted a bit more of it back in the favour of the bowler? Well,
it's more the conduciveness of the wickets.
Okay.
If the wickets are flat in Australia by Wobble seam, you're going to get murdered.
Right.
It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
But then again, in England, short broad, so their wickets were at 2 or 3 mils, I think they were. And with that seam that they had, the 2018 ball, that ball was like, it was darting sharp both ways. And that's difficult. So I think the rest of the world sort of adopted that theory that, you know, if the wickets are conducive, you bowl cross seam, it can go in or it can go away. And as a batter, you got to play the line. If traditionally a bowler's bowling swing bowling, you know exactly how it's going to go. It's just how much is it going to swing, right? And then back in the day, the fast bowlers used to get angry at each other if you didn't hit the seam because it'll scuff up the ball.
Yeah.
Right? So, but now, like, you can polish the ball. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You've got to keep the ball hard. So if you do bowl the scrambled seam, it does nip. You know, so I think the wickets have been conducive enough for the ball to do that. Plus, this Kookaburra ball has changed from back in the day. So the seam's a bit more pronounced, and that's for the ball to last longer.
Yep.
So it is catching more. So you go back to, you know, for early 2000, so when I first started, 2010, 11 to probably 15, 16, the seams were still there, but, you know, if you bowled that sort of ropey, you would have got something out of it, but it wouldn't have lasted until probably 15 overs.
Right.
Now, because the wickets are a bit more conducive, they're lasting a lot longer, and the seam sort of rises a little bit with these new balls. And that's something that Kookaburra have actually adopted because the balls were going out of shape and they weren't lasting as long. So it's benefited the bowlers, but also if you bat well and you bat time, it doesn't do as much.
Is it kind of annoying on some level as a batter where it's sort of just in the hands of the gods, that delivery? Like, it may come in, it may go away. It's just, like, it's obviously there's skill involved in delivering it, but, like, it is still very much just like, well, how, like, what was I meant to do there?
Well, if you get a Jaffra, it's like...
Well, but it's just like, it just bounced in this time. You can't, as you said, you can sort of, it's a matter of how much a ball's going to swing but like with this, it's sort of...
Yeah, definitely. But you look at the Indian bowlers, they all bowl a perfect seam. And then Mohammad Siraj does the wobble seam. So they're still getting a lot of, you know, movement off the wicket and in the air. Where someone like Mitchell Starc, he'll swing the ball in, then hold the ball to go wobble. Pat Cummins, you know, he does the same thing. He'll hold the seam up, but then sort of tinker with his finger, and then it will just wobble. So, in saying that, you know, as a right hand batter facing Bumrah, I'll use him as an example. If you play his line and the ball nips in, like full face of the bat, it only has to nip a little bit, and it misses you completely. It's LBW or bowled.
Yeah,
you can't play like McSweeney that first innings. You can't play that. He's played it perfect.
Yeah,
you know. But then people go, well, if you bat this side out of your crease or you bat this way, well, it's easy in hindsight, but that's how he normally bats, you know. Someone like Usman Khawaja, same thing. Like, if he bats sort of off stump and makes him zero in, but then what happens is that ball that comes inside here, your head falls because you traditionally, as a left-hander, you want to play off your hip. So it's hard. It's not easy.
Far out.
It is not easy.
It's just like it doesn't sound easy at all. It sounds like chaos, absolute chaos. We want to get to some Thunder and some Big Bash chat, but just a couple of things before we do. Siraj v Head, shit talking on the field. A lot was made of it. They've been fined 20% of their match fee. Was that not just a bit of like? Isn't that kind of just like a bit of argy-bargy, bit of fun? Got everyone up and about. Got everyone excited.
Yeah, it did. I just, you know, on both fronts, like both were obviously had their guilty parts, but I just don't think out of nowhere sending someone off when there's been no chat.
Yeah, I know.
I get it if there's been argy-bargy, but
140 off 141.
Yeah, and like the sarcasm of Hetty saying "Wobble, mate," like, you know, I get that side of it. I get both their perspectives, but I would like more. Like I said it the other day. Like, if a new batter's coming into crease, and, you know, you got the upper hand, you got 30, 40 minutes to bowl, get in there, make some noise, clap loud. Like, it's about your presence in and around the bat. It's not about, because, you know, no one's sledging these days or anything like that. That's all gone out the window because the mics are turned up so much. So it's just a voice. It's your vocals, right? It's in and around. It's the presence. You know, we used to have the keeper run up the stumps every time the ball got thrown into the field and then throw it around the batsman. Right? That's presence. That's making them move out of their comfort zone. It's like, you know, a boxer moving around, like that's what you're talking about with energy. You know, it gets them thinking, it gets them going, gee, they're up and about because there's 11 on 2.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Well, why wouldn't you get out there and start
yeah.
making noise and doing that? And I think it's just gone out of the game. Like it has become too friendly.
And even to fine them both for that, I mean, maybe because
revenue
you
maker.
could see pretty much exactly what Trav said back to him as he's walking off, like, you know, but like it just didn't feel like it warranted a fine of you know, it just sort of was like.
Well, they're lucky. Was it the ICC fine you? But I'm just. Trav's lucky that the Cricket Australia doesn't find him as well. They like to clip the ticket on the back of everything else as well. So, you know.
Have you are you loving watching Travis Head just go about his work? Such an alpha.
When Travis Head's batting how he does, and we talked about his lack of runs as well, but the way he plays, he's not meant to come in at 4 for crap.
No.
Right? But he's not going to change his way. And if Trav starts blocking and defending, then you know he's not batting like
we're
Trav
worried.
Head. So we'll worry. But that is just counterpunching at its best. And people don't realise how much pressure that takes off the guy at the other end. The other guy at the other end will start getting half volleys. He'll start getting short balls, and you know. And I think that's a ploy that Australia can do to Mohammad Siraj. You know, someone has to take that upon themselves to go, hey, do what Marnus did. Maybe Marnus didn't do it on purpose, but make him pull away.
Yeah.
You know, pretend there's a fly in your eye. Do something like that. You know, then distract him. Get him off his line and length. It's not going to work the Bumrah. Just, you know, he'll just keep bowling his line and length. But someone who does have that sort of aggression, you know, fast bowlers back in the day, I used to hit a 4 and run past them and say, shot. Just because it just revved them up. Then they wanted to knock your socks off. So it's like, all right, bang. All right. So you got to play cat and mouse when you're out there. You got to try and get them off their lines and lengths and whatnot. So be brave. But Travis Head, the way he's playing, mate, Michael Vaughan put English, some sense of humour. They put the photo he put up the other day when the crowd all ran on the field and they had everyone around. He goes, "That's the field that you needed for Travis Head." So, that's exactly what it is. Like, he just seems to hit boundaries all the time.
Yeah. Well, Tim Payne, I think, said yesterday something about like him and Travis and JL had sort of like some differences around like how to bat, and that he said that JL sort of was trying to stifle his swashbuckling style, and then now Trav's allowed to just be this, you know, swell. Now he can swashbuckle.
Yeah.
Is that how you remember that time? Because I think he got dropped under JL when Tim was captain. I can't entirely remember, but like, and do you have those run-ins with coaches where you sort of have to be like, nah, this is the way I think.
Well, I think Darren Lehman did it to Uzi as well. So Uzi, you know, has not changed the way that he's batted. And, you know, I think certain coaches have their coaching method, and I've always seen coaching as a player management role.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your batting coach and all that there for a reason. You're not there to change the way that player bats. When they're playing for Australia, they know their method, and it's very hard to completely change their way. And I had these conversations with JL and Steve Waugh in England 2019. They're saying, why am I batting out of my crease? Why am I doing this? Why am I looking to defend? Why am I looking to defend to mid-on? Well, that's not my game, you know, but I was being coachable. So I listened. It didn't work for me, so I had to try and go back to my own method and try and hit the ball. So in that sense, Travis just bats the way he does.
Yep.
Mitch Marsh bats the way he does. You know, that was his one opportunity in England. Came out, scored 100. Unbelievable 100.
Yeah. That's
the way the guys bat. If they get out the way that they're getting out, then so be it. But they're going to come off. In test matches, you know, 1 in 5 tests, you know, you got 10 innings. They're going to come off, and they're going to win you a game. Now, if they're winning you a game, then that serves the purpose of them being the team. If they're not winning you games and they are not scoring runs, then that's when you have questions. But, you know, we always knew what Travis Head could do. We always knew what Mitch Marsh could do. The unfortunate thing for them, they came into the team at the time where, you know, it was sort of like transitioning, and then, you know, you did have to bat a certain way and whatnot. But they've adapted, they've fitted in well, and, you know, we're reaping the rewards of 2 talented players who take the game on. And it's exciting. We want that.
Punters and Dribblers, we are brought to you by none other than Neds, our favourite gambling platform. And by favourite, I mean the only one we use.
Well, why would you use anything else? You know, perfection's been reached.
Yep.
Perfection's been perfected.
Yep.
And that's what Neds is, baby. Perfected perfection.
Correct. Now, listen, if you're going to have a little punt on the Crickos, Big Bash is back soon. Couple of options there. There's still some ponies. The Caliente dogs, if you're me.
Yeah. Maybe try and follow what Tom did, you know? Try and predict how many runs in the first over.
Yeah. Well,
maybe Mike Mitchell-Starc bowls leg buys, fucking full runs.
Yeah. I listen to what I
crushes your dreams.
Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Never be betting on that market again. But if I do have a punt, Eddie, it's with me old mates.
100%.
So, a big thank you to Neds. We've got more live reads this year, but thank you to Neds for their support this year.
You're wrapping up the year?
Pretty much, dude.
Oh, thanks, Neds. Thanks for the year.
Thanks for the year. Thanks for everything.
See you soon.
See you soon. See you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website. Well, now, I mean, it's Big Bash. It feels like has gotten to a point in the country, in Australia, where I almost don't feel like summer's entirely started now until Big Bash is on. Like when it's just there's cricket on every night, it's the real hum in the background. You know, you're in the kitchen, you're out. It's
horizontal season.
It's horizontal season. You're laying on the couch, and you're just enjoying cricket at basically every single waking moment you possibly can. Now
days into nights,
nights into mornings, back into days. And one of the great things is when all of the big dogs are playing. And I think there was maybe last year or the year before, there was a period there where we got to have all the big dogs playing for an extended period of time as opposed to maybe just later on. Now you're back and we're getting a full season of you at the Thunder. You're now captain. How excited are you for it? How are you, I guess, seeing the upcoming season? What's it been like, this transition, and now you being able to play a full summer?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's exciting to be back and giving back to the game that I love. It owes me nothing. So I feel like it's a responsibility and a duty of care to actually go back and try and be that older figure and sort of help people evolve, whether it's their game, whether it's leadership, whether it's our game itself and the Big Bash. Because I don't think there's enough older players playing the game today. And a lot of people are time poor, and I talk about grey cricket. There's a lot of young kids that are coming through, which is exciting. But when I first started, there was 35, 40-year-olds playing first grade cricket and second grade cricket. Now,
grizzled old veterans.
Well, and you know what? That's where they taught you tough love.
Yeah.
That's where you were you're copying it left, right, and centre. I got marched off the field, the gate opened by Greg Matthews. Right at Waverley Oval. And I played with him the year before he went to Sydney Unis. And I was like, mate, I love this guy. And now I'm an 18-year-old little punk, and he's walked me off and opened the gate and said, get off this field. This is my field.
Oh, jeez.
Right? So, I was like, whoa, okay, awesome. There's going to be none of that. But I think coming back and giving back to the game as an older figure, I think it's important.
A couple of kids you need to walk off the pitch.
Yeah. Let's find some targets. But but the exciting thing for me as well is my girls love cricket.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing that we do as cricketers is fan engage. And getting the youngsters involved, getting people and all our supporters to come and watch our games. And as you said, you can watch Test cricket into the Big Bash at night time. And I know, having played the last sort of 10 years, going home from a Test match and the Big Bash is on, I'm like, how good's this? I get to sit down, try not to think about Test cricket, and watch the Big Bash and everyone just pongoing them over the. And then the next day, everyone's talking about it. So for me, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to the role as captain, and Greeny's done a fantastic job before me, and I think the experience that I have in that change room to bounce ideas off is great for us, and hopefully some of the younger guys that are in and around the squad can learn a few things, and in a couple of years' time, if they can take that away and take one bit of advice from any of the older guys there that will hold them in good stead, that'd be fantastic.
And how's the body feeling? What are you, 38?
31.
Oh, 31. Sorry, mate.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, you can monitor this on the Big Bash field this year,
you
right? You see who's diving around and doesn't care about washing their clothes. But I am 38, yes, and I don't feel every bit of it. Oh, I do this morning after playing 2 hours of paddle with Michael Vaughan and Bilbo yesterday.
2 hours of paddle?
Yeah.
How'd you go?
Is that like pickleball?
Yeah, it's paddle. It's like
ball, but it's paddle.
It's tennis squash in a squash court kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, first ever time I played, we won.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Competitive spirit.
I came out like a deer in headlights, and I was actually saying to Bilbo and Vaughnie, they play quite a lot. And I had my watch on. And I think it was 20 minutes of 170 plus heart rate. I was absolutely cooked. And now my glutes and my hammies are barking today. But it's great fitness. It's good for cricket. But I don't feel 38. And I think, everyone that gets older today, obviously with what we do and lifestyle and all these things that everyone's talking about on Instagram about can't drink this, can't eat this, we'd pretty much starve.
Yeah.
I'm surviving.
Tough. Yeah. yeah, you're still making it.
You're looking great. How are the Thunder looking this year?
Thunder are looking good. Yeah, they're looking good. Unfortunately, Maddo's broken his finger, so he's out for the season. So that gives an opportunity to someone like Sam Constance.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk about. We get to see, his white ball game. We saw him peel off some runs at a fast rate in that PM's 11, which is exciting. Playing some ramp shots, which is good to see. You got Bancroft, Billings, new injection, Shafane Rutherford, Spearhead and Lockie Ferguson. So we've got some good recruits in that department. You've got a lot of younger players. Ollie Davies, we want to see him, find his form from last year as well. I think it's a big year for him. And I think having Wes Agar come across as well is going to add an extra string to our bow. So we've got
strikers or scorchers, Wes?
He was strikers.
Yeah, okay.
Which is good for us. It strengthens our bowling, our depth of bowling. Last year, I think we were sort of lost in our way of how we wanted to play the game. So, hopefully we got we come out with a bit more of an aggressive approach, a bit more of a positive approach. Like we look to take wickets, we look to take the game on. I think the Big Bash is funny. You've only got 4 overs, which is new to me, trying to play that brand of cricket, and then you have a 2 roaming sort of power play after 10. So it's strategic. It's more strategic than just a normal 6 overs and then you know what you're going to do. So that's what I'm excited for, to see how we play our brand of cricket this year compared to the previous years.
And obviously the big rivalry naturally is against the Sixers. Are there some other teams there that you're sort of keeping an eye on? I know when we will get to the Smash in a moment, but who are the main teams that are the biggest threats, do you think?
Look, I think Scorchers, given that they, since 2019, last year was the first time they missed out in the finals, which is surprising. They've actually literally got an Australian cricket team, and they've got people on the bench that literally have played for Australia. Yeah. So, they've got a great list. And I don't know who manages their list, but it's a good one. Their accountant needs to be audited.
It might be. Well, it sounds like it's probably.
So that's where the old JL
Supremo, Nick Politis, mate, your boy.
That's the JL regime of the old, Yeah. So, but look, I think they're going to be. They're always a benchmark, right? So, they know how to win. They very rarely lose a game at the Fortress over there. So, I think they're good. Renegades, you've got Jake Fraser McGurk, and then you've got Laurie Evans as well, who is down there. So there's some firepower around. So, our obviously biggest rival is the Sixers. So
yes,
I think the whole team's flying in a chopper this time. So not just me.
I'll organise
that. That was nice. You're going to get a big chopper. It's going to need to be a serious chopper to get the whole team in.
Just a coupler.
That was flexing.
That was serious flexing, dude.
Serious.
Because that was from your brother's wedding, wasn't it?
It was. And it was actually, I said to my brother, look, obviously work's first and it's priority. And I said if I was to get back, I could only get there up and down in a chopper. So, thanks to all the people involved, including the trust, to give me permission to land in the SCG. And the crowd couldn't enter until I rocked up. So
that must have felt pretty surreal being
that was baller.
You know what I mean? Just going like, what the hell is this? This is crazy.
It was
get what it's got to,
It was funny, but it's just the guys in that change room just go, that's just bull.
Yeah.
That's just normal. Chopper has nothing.
We'll learn it then.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, Matt, it was actually quite funny because Shawnee Abbott texted me before. He goes, I'm going to be riding on my line bike. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, mate. But, at the moment, you guys are sort of, littering our pavements with those stupid bikes.
Oh, they're everywhere, mate.
They're so annoying.
They're everywhere.
They're in trees sometimes. It's an opportunity for hoodlums just to throw them everywhere.
Yeah, what do they do with those batteries once they're done too?
Well, that's
seriously,
a great
it's not environmentally friendly, is it?
No, it's not.
Hey, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. My brother almost accidentally killed a possum with one of those because it was hiding in the wheel and he started riding it and it's like got all fucking mangled in there.
Mate, there's like graveyards for those
wildlife.
bikes and they go for kilometres of just
or even in
discarded
what's the river
bikes.
in Melbourne?
Oh, there's a lot of them there. Is it Yarra?
The Yarra.
Yeah.
Dude, they're all in the Yarra.
Yeah.
It's like the graveyard for them in the Yarra. Anyway, that's another point. We can spend an hour on fucking line bikes. 21st of December at NG Stadium. That is where we have the Thunders V6s Super Smash. You got a couple of them though. There's another one in January. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is.
Jono? Yeah.
17th.
I feel like this, any sort of sporting code leans on rivalries a lot, especially one with the Big Bash where you sort of you started, it's been going for a while now, but it's very important to get people identifying with the team and building rivalries. How's your experience of the Smash been over the time you've been playing Big Bash? How excited are you? There's a few players in there that you've done battle with in the past or played with before. Does sledging come back onto the equation when you're playing your mates? Is that a little bit more...
There's I wouldn't say sledging, but I think it's...
Degrees of sledging.
Yeah, it's more about, trying to find ways to unsettle them. And, the Sixers have had the same core team for a long time as well, so they're well structured. They know, how to get in and out of, sort of their power plays. And, it's just trying to apply pressure to make the captain make a different choice of bowling. And so, it helps. It's helped them for a long time to have that same sort of list management. But from our perspective, it's about, coming out and being positive, starting well, whether it's with the ball or the bat, and then, trying to field well as also. So, they're the things for us. We don't sort of take into account, the records and all that kind of crap that, they have against us. It's about going out there, trying to, get the crowd behind us, play a good brand of cricket, and, whoever wins at the end of the day, we have a beer together. So that's what's most important to us, and making sure that, all our fans are engaged and supporting us. And I think it's sold out already. So that's
huge.
Exciting.
It already sold out.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So
that's awesome. Just quickly on fielding, and this is just something I was thinking about the other day, and obviously it's not Big Bash related specifically, but as I think every Australian male my age has probably done at least a million times, I've happened across Ricky Ponting's run out highlights on YouTube, and they go for 3 days. And I was like, I don't know whether I'm just sort of tied to nostalgia of the past, but I don't feel like the days when it was punter and, Andrew Simons and just runouts, crazy fielding runouts. Is that are we seeing less of that, or am I just living in the past?
No, we are.
Why?
We definitely are. There's just not enough of it training.
Really?
No, there's not enough of it. And the other stuff, the other side of that is we use the word time poor, but a lot of the guys are specifically working on skills, batting and bowling, and forgetting that 50% of it is fielding. And it's inexcusable to, if you're not diving around and getting your clothes dirty,
which you would always do.
You have to. You have to. And I think, I'll say I've missed the stumps a lot. I've had a bad shoulder for a long time, and it looks very funny when I throw a ball. But someone like a Maxi hits the stumps quite often.
Yeah.
Marnus hits the stumps quite often. So I'll give Maxi does train a lot, and he does pride himself on his fielding and hitting a lot of stumps. But I just think today a lot of the guys coming through just neglected a little bit, and we used to do our fielding sessions, but the other side of it is as well is the shoulder management. And that's the hard part. The guys aren't getting paid like the baseballers to throw the pitchers, to throw endless amount of balls and then go and put ice packs on their shoulders for 3 hours. So the guys, I think there's the fielding and throwing the ball over the stumps isn't as good as it used to be as well, not just hitting stumps. And there's one guy in world cricket that you just don't run on, and I don't think anyone runs on him anymore, is Jadeja. That guy hits the stumps more than anyone.
He's a serious cricketer.
Oh, he just proper cricketer and a rocket. And also on the flip side of that, a lot of people aren't running to certain people. So you can have that presence and aura about you, but back in the day, you're just silly if you ran on punter and Simo.
Yeah.
But so many people did.
Well,
almost like they wanted to be part of the highlight.
And it was an ego thing. I can get up there before he hits the stumps.
No. Good luck then, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
No, okay, that's interesting. All right, I wasn't going crazy. A reminder as well, this will be in the intro, but any punter and dribbler out there, if there are still tickets available to the Super Smash, is it January as well, or just this December one, Jono? Just the December one. Use the code HelloSport at checkout and you get 10% discount on tickets.
That's nice.
That's nice, isn't it? Don't
But
say
apparently
that.
it's sold out.
Well, listen, if it's sold out, then too bad.
Yeah, GA.
GA sold out.
That's what they say now. Like even the other day at the cricket in where were we? Adelaide. They said, "Oh, GA sold out." I'm a bit like, "What do you mean GA sold out? It's either sold out or it's not sold out."
Yeah.
But what? Because no one else can get tickets. So I didn't realise, obviously, playing the game for a long time, that you can actually buy the other tickets.
Yeah,
which
right.
are in the members' concourse or whatever it is.
I
had no idea about that.
I didn't know that until we just had this conversation right now.
Yeah,
Because
so
when you said GA was sold out, I go, what the fuck are we
So it's
selling?
sold out then.
So it's sold out.
Yeah.
So,
Not the
yeah.
case.
Well, that's why I didn't even know. And I was like, that's a bit odd.
Well, there you go. Hello Sport. Code Hello Sport.
Code
for
Hello
10%
Sport,
off the
10%
other
off
tickets.
the other tickets that aren't sold out.
Yeah. That aren't GA.
Mate, thanks a lot for coming in. It's great to see you again. Obviously, we're still waiting to get invited to the man cave one of these days.
We're
That's
patient,
fine.
though.
We're patient, though. There's no rush on that.
Well,
Obviously, that'll come.
we can do it before the next Big Bash Smash then.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that then.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I'm sure I
Love
have
it.
time.
Oh, and look at this. What do we got
Gifts.
here?
What are these?
Gifts. Well, we actually haven't really found ourselves. We haven't necessarily staked our flag on any big
No,
Bash
not
side,
yet.
have we, Edwin? Look at that. Here we
We've
go.
actually got the new, there we go, Swift X.
Oh, Swift X. Crypto exchange.
There you go. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You can debut anytime you want.
Mate, I averaged 50 in 7th
grade,
grade.
I should have given you
Oh, thank
there
you.
go. Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks again. Thanks for the jerseys. Up the Thunder.
Pleasure.
And go the
Mate, all
Manly
the best.
Seagulls.
All the best for the year.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have
Thanks
you,
for
still,
having me.
have you still got those Roosters shoes we gave you?
You know what I do, and you know what? I wore them to the Roosters game.
Did
and,
ya?
And no one noticed them.
What?
No
So
one
there's
noticed
our
them.
Manly equivalent ones there. They're just absolutely.
No, I've got them. My little one, she wears them all the time. She just gets them out, and just wears them. That's fun of
great.
it. It's
Oh,
good.
it's
Love that.
So silly.
How are the Seagulls going to go this year?
Mate, we're going to win the comp.
You sound like the Tigers.
Oh,
That's low. That's low, dude.
Jesus.
Gee whiz.
Well, listen, mate. I think we'll go okay. You guys are just your Roosters getting rid of all your good players. You're buying players.
Terrell
you know,
May, nah, don't want him.
Cheese, Brandon Smith. He's just doing his best to recover, and then you sign another hooker under him. It's just disgraceful.
Have you guys upgraded your stadium yet? And parking?
Part of it.
Well,
Part of the stadium.
No
Part of
parking. No parking.
No parking.
Parking?
still.
No.
No. And the stadium. Listen, I wouldn't hold your breath.
There's plans, though.
No, there's plans.
They're right. There's drawings.
Yeah, there's drawings. We saw some drawings.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Exactly.
thanks again,
Pleasure.
mate. All the best
Thanks,
of the
mate.
season.
Thanks, gents.
Could you two just not talk anymore?